I'm joined now by sculptor and doll maker Doris Moyers Hornbogen. Doris, I thought I had talked to every different kind of artist, and then I met you. You are a doll maker, but we're not talking about toys.
No.
These dolls are incredible. I have to go back to the beginning. When did you start sculpting?
Actually, I started sculpting in 2018. Yes.
That's like yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't done that very long. I started actually making dolls, painting them in 2017. And then I just really enjoyed it, and I wanted to experiment, making my own dolls. And I have done a portraiture and that sort of thing in the past, not as a profession or anything, but just I've always had interest in portraits.
Yeah.
And so, and my husband knew that, obviously. And so that's when he said, every time I bought a new doll, he said, "You can do this much better." And I didn't believe it. And then I just, for Christmas one year, I just bought one of the kits that are out there that you can paint yourself and assemble. And I invested about $240 in everything, in the paints and the oven that you need and the kit. And I just posted on Facebook my very first doll just to show it off.
Yeah.
And somebody said they wanted it, and I didn't know that was really, this
thing.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I sold my first doll for $150. And then I took that and I bought another kit. And I sold that one for like $250, and I kept going, and then people were just requesting me to make their dolls. And so from one thing led to the other, and I started making eyes for dolls and that sort of thing. I learned how to insert hair into the heads and stuff, and I just wanted to learn, more and more, and I just really got involved. And I realized I could make more money doing this than going to a job.
Yeah.
So
But let's talk about the kits for a second,
Yes.
because the kits are just different body parts, essentially,
Yes.
that one receives and can paint themselves
Yes.
and create their own doll.
Right.
So now what you are doing is creating your own kits by
Yes.
sculpting like custom
Yes.
faces and shapes and Doris, they blow my mind. I was doing the research last night, and I looked at all the photos and watched your videos, and they are so amazing in the photos, but seeing them here in person, they look
Yes.
incredible.
Yes.
So tell me about how you make a mold. Where do you begin?
Well, first you have to start with the sculpt, and that's just a piece of clay, and then you make it into a form. And it kind of depends on what it is that I want to do, because there are two types of kits. Vinyl kits, the plastic pieces, and that's just a head, arms and legs, and a cloth body that you fill, and then you weigh everything, to make it heavy as a
Feel
baby.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And then there's silicone kits, and those come in one piece. So I don't sculpt just like a head by itself or the limbs by itself, but I
Right.
actually sculpt them as a full
An
body.
entire baby.
Yes.
Okay, here's another part that blows my mind. You do commission work. So often people will send you a photo and say, make this baby. Don't
Yes.
just make a baby, but make a baby that looks like
Yes.
this.
Yes.
This is an example. This is a
Yes.
commission that you did that is she's now an adult, but
Yes.
but this was a baby.
Yeah, so it's actually a good challenge. Sometimes it makes it easier, just because you get a ton of different pictures from the different angles and that sort of thing. However, this baby, I only had 2 pictures to go off of, and so she actually looks like this.
Gosh. Now this is one of the silicone.
This is a silicone baby, yeah. So
Yes.
it's flexible and movable. She's a sleeping Emily.
yeah, which is wild. We talked about
It's-
that before we started shooting this.
Yes, and she comes as a as one piece. So this is all connected.
Yeah.
So there are different processes for this and different clays that I use also. And then it gets cast, the mold gets made, the clay gets gets silicone put around it. So it kind of like you have to make a negative. So the clay piece is a positive, and then you
Like cocoon it, basically.
yes, in different layers.
Okay.
Okay, and so they kind of adhere to each other. That gets then taken off, and the clay sculpt gets ruined most of the time. That's the end of that clay sculpt.
Yeah.
And then, but you have the mold.
Right.
And into the mold, then that mold gets prepared, because then the mold is silicone, and you also cast silicone in, and so there has to be preparation so it doesn't stick to each other, because you have to pull out the silicone doll, the silicone kit, the blank kit,
Sure.
out of that. There's curing time involved. The silicone is liquid, and it shapes.
May I?
Absolutely. It shapes to the form. Emily and Emily.
Emily and Emily, I'm sorry, I got distracted because she's just.
But a mold can probably produce maybe 10 to 30 or so kits that can then be sold to other artists who want to
Right.
create their own. And there's all kinds of different versions. Ethnic babies of all kinds of different, skin tones and variants.
Sure.
Just whatever. A lot of times, collectors will commission an artist to paint a certain baby in their image and what they want. So a lot of times the artist or the collector will contact me and say, I would like to have this kit. I get the kit prepared and ship it out to either the artist or the collector. Now this particular doll right here, I made from start to finish. So the mom, what we call them,
Right.
she's actually buying it directly from me. That's why she's painted here.
Yes, and the coloring. I was saying, anyone who has held a newborn baby, the coloring is so spot on.
A lot of it has to do with the base color of the kit. The silicone that gets poured into the mold is pigmented. Silicone comes as transparent.
Okay.
And so it's see-through.
Yeah.
We actually put color into that to make it, to give it a base color underneath.
So
and
you
then
mix that color?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I have a special recipe that I use to get it as close as possible to just the natural undertone.
Yeah.
And then a lot of highlights, a lot of details get added, like nails and that sort of thing.
Yes, the nails.
So yes, also like the mouth and stuff, everything has to be opened, and so.
Oh my gosh. Okay. How did you learn how to do all of this? When your husband said you could do this better, do you just start Googling? I wouldn't know where to begin.
So I actually took a class with Karen Taylor. She does all the forensic reconstruction in Texas. So I went down there to do facial reconstruction, and she did a special child that I was able to do. Normally she does adults, and so I went over that, and just the depth, that sort of thing. How the skull. I do a lot of. I purchase resin skulls from other artists who focus on resin casting and stuff. To see the real placement. I study a lot. I do it in my free time. When I first started, I would arrange my work that I would work as a social worker for 4 days, 10-hour days, and then I would just dedicate Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just do nothing but that, work on this, until that increased, and my social work job decreased.
Yes.
But I continuously learn. Even now, I actually take an online sculpting class now. I constantly learn and just try to, I get bored easily. And so, I try to look at, how can I make this transition nicer, like the shoulder blades or the hips or different kinds of wrinkles, different hands and that sort of thing.
You have on your website a picture of an ear.
Yeah.
And which was so fascinating to me to see, because I thought, man,
I love ears.
Who looks at an ear and thinks, oh yeah, okay, I can do that, and clearly you.
I just love that. I'm really fascinated by ears. I don't know what it is, but it's just there's so many subtle, changes and stuff, transitions from one area to another, and so many different shapes. And also what I find really intriguing is how much babies change, because you have like certain ways, like within the first 2 weeks, things kind of start unfolding, and like so ears actually tend to change shapes a lot within the first 2 weeks, and the swelling kind of goes down, so the babies will look a lot different in the beginning than they will after 2 weeks, and then again after a month when they start gaining fat. So then the fat starts building at certain spots. So that kind of stuff is really intriguing to me.
I can tell, like, that you love it, because this has to be such a labor of love. And as you were saying, you brought examples of your work. All of them are sold.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to make one of these beautiful babies.
Everybody's working on a time frame. So I work with artists around the world and doll dealerships. So when they commission a piece, but they're also dealing with their time frames.
Right.
So clients want their baby by Christmas, or that sort of thing. We actually produced a baby for a movie. It's called Abandoned, and that was about 19 days from start to finish.
Wow.
And so sculpting everything, it was pretty much working around the clock and really timing how long does it take to put the hair in. We gave it 3 days because it was a portrait baby as well. The producer used his daughter for the film. I think it was the producer used his daughter for the film, and so it had to look kind of like her.
The baby.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, it was really incredible.
Again, I talk to artists all the time. It's my job. And everyone puts their heart into their work. But, I mean, you put heart, body, mind, soul, all of it into these dolls. Doris, I could talk to you all day, because there are just so many questions, and it's fascinating and really beautiful. I didn't realize that I would be so taken with the actual product. I don't even want to say product, because it's so with the actual baby. Wow. Well, it is an incredible art form. You are incredibly talented. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. And please keep making these beautiful, beautiful.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne,